is carbon dioxide and why do we measure it? To answer that question, we have to think about what's in the air around us all of the time. It's easy to think that there's nothing around us, but really, the air is absolutely packed with all sorts of stuff. Mainly, it's nitrogen and oxygen, and we need oxygen to breathe. And that leaves just 1% for the other stuff, which includes water. When we ventilate our homes well, these gases move around from inside to outside and they stay in quite a nice balance. What actually is the other stuff? It's lots of things, and it can include water, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, formaldehyde, particulate matter, and loads more. Some of those things might sound a bit scary, but actually they're quite often there in small amounts all the time, and as long as they stay low, they don't actually cause us a lot of harm. In fact, without small amounts of water in the air, we wouldn't survive. The important thing to consider is what happens if we let the other stuff build up too much. So that brings us neatly back to carbon dioxide. This is one of the easiest of all of these gases to measure. It's a completely natural gas, and it's in the air that we breathe out. In small amounts, it's harmless to us. But if it builds up too much, it can make us feel unwell. We measure carbon dioxide in parts per million. Here's a graph that shows how each level can affect our well-being and health. You can't see or feel carbon dioxide, but you can sometimes tell when a room is quite poorly ventilated, when you get that stale, stuffy air when you walk into a room, and this can make us feel groggy and unwell. Knowing about carbon dioxide can be really helpful because it's often an indicator of poor ventilation, and if we're not ventilating out that carbon dioxide and that's building up, there's lots of that other stuff that's probably also building up at the same time. So if we have high levels of carbon dioxide, we've probably also got high levels of the other stuff. And on the other side, if we keep low levels of carbon dioxide, we know that that other stuff is also probably low and our home environment is probably healthier. Like we said, there's small amounts of these gases and other stuff around us all the time. But when they all build up, some of these other things can actually create long-term health impacts. So, for example, particulate matter, which comes from normally outdoor but sometimes indoor pollutants, moulds, bacteria and viruses, carbon monoxide and other volatile organic compounds. And if all of those things are building up, quite often something else is building up, and that's water, so the air can go from dry to damp quite quickly. This is something that we can also quite easily measure, and we measure it in something called percentage of relative humidity. In simple terms, it's just the amount of water in the air as a gas that the air is capable of holding, and this varies depending on the temperature of the air. When there's too much water in the air, other things can grow, like moulds, and it also encourages dust mites. This typically happens when the indoor relative humidity is more than 70%, a significant amount of the time. This can be really harmful to health for all of us, but especially younger people under 14 and people who already have underlying health conditions. Now that all sounds quite scary, so what can we actually do about this? All of this can be kept under control by properly ventilating our homes. In modern homes, this will involve using windows or trickle vents and also mechanical extractor fans. Some homes might also have positive input ventilation systems or heat recovery. Keeping window vents open all of the time, as well as airing the home for short periods daily, combined with using a fan, pulls cool, clean air through these vents and then pushes it out through the fans. Done regularly and consistently, this will clean the air, and it dilutes all of the other stuff down to healthy levels again.